She was my boss's wife, but her touch made me forget everything else. I can still feel the weight of her gaze that first night, her fingers brushing mine as she handed me a glass of wine at their company party. It was just a moment, a fleeting second, but it burned into me like a brand, like a warning I didn't heed. My name's Ethan, and I was 29, clawing my way up the corporate ladder at a tech startup in Seattle. My boss, Richard, was the kind of guy who owned every room he walked into, charismatic, ruthless, and married to Elena. She was 38, with eyes that held secrets and a smile that could unravel you in ways you didn't see coming. I didn't mean to fall for her. I didn't mean to risk my job, my future, everything I'd poured my life into. But some lines, once you cross them, can't be uncrossed. They become part of you, like a scar you keep touching, even when it hurts. It started so small, so innocent, or at least, that's what I told myself to sleep at night. A late-night meeting where her laugh caught me off guard, a glance that lingered just a beat too long across a crowded conference room. But every step toward her felt like walking toward a cliff, the kind where you can't see the bottom, but you keep moving anyway. I knew it was wrong. She was married. To my boss. The man who signed my paychecks, who could end my career with one phone call, who trusted me to deliver numbers and loyalty in equal measure. Yet every time she said my name, soft, deliberate, like it was a secret just for us, the world shrank until it was just her and me. I'd lie awake at night, replaying her words, her scent, the way her lips curved when she said something bold, something that made my pulse race. I told myself I could stop, that I'd keep it professional, that I was stronger than this. But deep down, I knew I was lying. The truth was, I was already falling, and I didn't want to catch myself. Have you ever wanted something so badly it scared you? That's what Elena was to me, a desire so intense it felt like drowning, like the air was too thick to breathe. And the worst part? I wasn't sure if she felt the same, or if I was just a game to her, a fleeting distraction from her polished, perfect life. Was she lonely, or was she playing me? I couldn't tell, and that uncertainty kept me up at night, my mind spinning with questions I didn't dare ask. But one night, everything changed. One choice, one secret, and suddenly, we were in too deep, caught in a current neither of us could fight. This is the story of how I fell for my boss's wife, and how our secret could destroy us both. Stick around, because you won't believe where this ends up. Let's take it back to where it all started, to the moment I didn't know would change everything. I'd been at the company for 2 years, a junior analyst with big dreams and an even bigger workload. Seattle's tech scene was a pressure cooker, and I was determined to stand out, to prove I belonged among the sharks. Richard, my boss, was the CEO, a 45-year-old force of nature who'd built the company from a garage into a multi-million-dollar empire. He was the kind of guy who could charm a room full of investors with a smile, then fire someone without blinking. Everyone respected him. Everyone feared him. I was no exception. I worked late, double-checked every report, made sure my numbers were flawless. I wanted his approval, his trust. I wanted to be someone he noticed. I met Elena at the company's annual gala, a black-tie affair where the champagne flowed and egos ran wild. She was standing by the bar, in a deep blue dress that seemed to pull the light out of the room. Richard introduced us, his arms slung possessively around her waist, his voice booming with pride. "Ethan, meet my better half," he said, and I shook her hand, mumbling something polite, trying not to stare. But her eyes locked onto mine, dark and searching, and for a split second, it was like Richard wasn't even there. Her handshake lingered, her fingers warm against mine, and I felt a jolt I couldn't explain, like static electricity but deeper, sharper. I brushed it off, told myself it was nothing. She was his wife. Off limits. Full stop. But it wasn't a full stop. Over the next few months, I saw her more than I expected. She'd drop by the office with coffee for Richard, her heels clicking down the hall, or she'd show up at company events, always poised, always magnetic. I noticed everything about her, the way she moved through a room, like she knew every eye was on her but didn't care, the way her laugh was soft but real, like she was letting you in on something private. She'd talk to me sometimes, small things, asking about my weekend, teasing me about the ugly tie I wore to a client meeting. It was friendly, professional, nothing anyone could point to and call inappropriate. But there was always something. A spark. A moment where her smile felt like it was just for me, like she saw something in me no one else did. I told myself I was imagining it. I was young, ambitious, and maybe a little lonely. I hadn't dated in a while, too focused on work, too busy trying to impress Richard, too tired to swipe through apps looking for someone who'd get me. But Elena was different. She wasn't just beautiful, she was sharp, witty, with this quiet sadness I couldn't place. I'd catch her staring out the window during meetings, her expression distant, like she was somewhere else entirely. I wondered what she was thinking, what kind of life she led with Richard behind their perfect glass and steel mansion. Was she happy? Did she love him? Did she feel the weight of his world the way I felt the weight of mine? I hated myself for even wondering, for letting my mind wander to places it had no business going. Then came the night that changed everything. It was a Friday, and I was working late, crunching numbers for a big pitch that could make or break our quarter. The office was empty, the city lights glowing through the floor-to-ceiling windows. I heard heels clicking down the hall, a sound that made my heart skip before I even saw her. There she was, Elena, in a black coat, her hair slightly messy from the rain outside. "Richard forgot his phone," she said, holding it up with a small smile. But she didn't leave. She sat on the edge of my desk, her perfume filling the air, something warm and expensive that made my head spin. We talked, about work at first, then about life, about the little things that don't matter but somehow mean everything. It was easy. Too easy. When she left, she touched my shoulder, her fingers lingering just a moment too long, and said, "Don't work too hard, Ethan." My skin burned where her hand had been. I sat there for an hour after she left, staring at my laptop, trying to convince myself I wasn't already in over my head. But I was. That was the moment I knew I was in trouble. From that night on, I couldn't shake her. Elena was everywhere, in my thoughts, my dreams, the way I'd scan every room hoping to catch a glimpse of her. I'd tell myself to stop, to focus on my work, to remember who she was and what was at stake. But it was like trying to outrun a storm. You can see it coming, but it's faster than you are. The more I tried to pull away, the closer we got. It wasn't just her beauty, though that was enough to stop me in my tracks. It was the way she saw me, really saw me, not as the junior analyst scrambling to prove himself, not as the guy who stayed late to impress the boss, but as me. Ethan. The guy who grew up in a small town, who dreamed of building something bigger, who felt like he was always one step behind. She saw that, and it was dangerous. It made me feel alive in a way I hadn't in years. It started with small moments, the kind you could almost explain away. A text from her about a company event, asking if I'd be there. A quick coffee run when Richard was out of town, her car pulling up outside the office, her smile bright through the window. Innocent on the surface. But every interaction left me wanting more, like a drug I didn't know I was addicted to. I'd replay our conversations in my head, searching for hidden meanings, dissecting every word, every look. Was she flirting? Was I delusional? I'd see her with Richard, his hand on her back, his laugh loud and commanding, and I'd feel a pang of jealousy so sharp it scared me. I wasn't that guy. I didn't break up marriages. I didn't betray people who trusted me. I built my life on doing the right thing, on playing by the rules. But with Elena, those rules started to blur, like lines drawn in the sand before the tide comes in. One evening, about 6 months after that late-night office encounter, things crossed a line I couldn't uncross. Richard was on a business trip in New York, and Elena invited me to their house for what she called a team dinner. I should have said no. I knew it the second the invitation came through, her voice casual but deliberate over the phone. But I didn't. I went. Their house was stunning, modern, all glass and sharp angles, with a view of the Puget Sound that made you feel like you were floating above the world. Elena greeted me at the door, her hair loose, her smile warm, wearing a simple black dress that made my throat go dry. "No one else could make it," she said, almost apologetically, her eyes flicking to mine. "Just us." My stomach dropped, but I followed her inside, my heart pounding like I was stepping into a trap I wanted to be caught in. We ate on the patio, the air cool, the city lights shimmering in the distance like they were part of some other life. She poured wine, the bottle catching the glow of the candles she'd lit. We talked, really talked. About her life before Richard, how she'd wanted to be an artist but gave it up for reasons she didn't fully explain. About my dreams of starting my own company someday, of building something that was mine. She laughed at my jokes, her eyes bright, and I felt alive, like I was exactly where I was supposed to be. Then, as we cleared the dishes, her hand brushed mine. Not accidentally. Deliberately. I froze, my heart slamming against my ribs. "Ethan," she said, her voice soft, barely above a whisper. "Do you ever feel like you're living someone else's life?" I didn't know what to say. My mouth was dry, my mind racing. I wanted to ask what she meant, to make her spell it out, but I was afraid of the answer, afraid of what it would mean for both of us. Instead, I nodded, my voice stuck somewhere in my chest. She stepped closer, her breath warm against my cheek, her perfume wrapping around me like a spell. "I do," she said. "All the time." And then she kissed me. It was soft, hesitant, like she was testing the waters, like she was giving me a chance to pull away. I should have stepped back, left the house, driven away, and never looked back. But I didn't. I kissed her back, my hands finding her waist, and in that moment, nothing else existed, not Richard, not my job, not the life I'd built. Just her. The next morning, I woke up in a panic, my heart racing like I'd been running all night. What had I done? She was married. To my boss. If Richard found out, I'd lose everything, my job, my reputation, my future in an industry where word travels fast. But worse, so much worse, I didn't regret it. I wanted her more than ever, like she'd unlocked something inside me I didn't know was there. Elena texted me later that day. "We need to talk. Meet me tonight." I went, of course. I couldn't stay away, even though every rational part of me screamed to stop. We met at a quiet bar across town, her face lit by the dim glow of the neon signs. That's when she told me the truth. Her marriage to Richard wasn't what it seemed. He was distant, controlling, obsessed with his empire, with power. She felt trapped, invisible, like a trophy he showed off but never really saw. "You make me feel seen," she said, her eyes wet with tears, her voice breaking. "But it's dangerous, Ethan. For both of us." She was right. It was dangerous. It was reckless, stupid, a betrayal of everything I thought I stood for. But we didn't stop. We couldn't. We met in secret, late nights at her friend's apartment when Richard was away, stolen moments in empty conference rooms when the office was quiet. Every touch, every whisper, felt like a high I couldn't quit, like she was the only thing keeping my heart beating. But the guilt was always there, gnawing at me like a splinter under my skin. I'd see Richard in meetings, his voice sharp, his eyes trusting as he clapped me on the shoulder, and I'd feel like a traitor, like the worst kind of liar. I'd lie awake at night, imagining him finding out, picturing the fallout. Would he fire me? Blacklist me? Worse? And what about Elena? Would she leave him? Could she? I didn't know what I wanted more, for her to be mine, to build a life together, or for this to never have happened, to go back to the safety of my old life. The tension built with every meeting, every stolen glance. We were careful, but not careful enough. A coworker caught us laughing too closely at a bar, her eyebrow raised as she walked away. A text from Elena popped up on my phone while it was on my desk, and I scrambled to hide it before anyone saw. Every day felt like a tightrope walk, one misstep away from falling. I started to notice things, Richard's tone sharper in meetings, his eyes lingering on me when he thought I wasn't looking. Was I paranoid, or was he starting to suspect? Elena swore he didn't know, that he was just stressed about a big merger, but I wasn't so sure. Then came the night that changed everything. Elena called me, her voice shaking, barely audible over the line. "Richard knows something," she said. "He's asking questions, about you, about me." My blood ran cold. Had he seen us? Heard us? Had someone talked? I didn't know how to protect her, or myself. All I knew was that our secret was unraveling, and there was no going back. The weeks that followed were a blur of paranoia and longing, a tightrope stretched over a chasm. Elena and I tried to pull back, to put distance between us, to cool things off before we got caught. But it was like trying to stop a runaway train. Momentum was against us. Every time I saw her, my resolve crumbled. She'd walk into the office, her heels clicking, her smile professional but her eyes searching for mine, and I'd feel that pull again, that ache that wouldn't let go. We'd exchange glances, quick and hidden, but enough to keep the fire burning, enough to remind me what I was risking everything for. I hated how much I needed her, how every moment without her felt like a piece of me was missing. I'd catch myself staring at my phone, waiting for her name to light up the screen, knowing every message was a risk but craving it anyway. Richard started to change, and it wasn't just my imagination. He was sharper, more demanding, his patience thinner than I'd ever seen. In meetings, he'd call me out for small mistakes, a typo in a report, a missed deadline, his tone cold, his eyes hard. Did he know? Was he testing me, waiting for me to crack? I couldn't tell, and that uncertainty was worse than any confrontation. Elena said he was stressed, that the company was facing a massive merger that could make or break his legacy. But I saw the way he looked at her, like he was searching for something, like he was trying to catch her in a lie. I wondered if he'd always been this way, if their marriage had always been a battlefield, or if our secret was bleeding into their life, poisoning it slowly. One night, Elena showed up at my apartment. It was risky, beyond risky, but she was desperate, her face pale, her hands trembling as she stood in my doorway. "He's different," she said, pacing my cramped living room, her voice low and urgent. "He's watching me. My phone, my emails. I don't know what he knows, Ethan, but he's not himself." I pulled her into my arms, trying to calm her, but inside, I was spiraling. If Richard found out, it wasn't just my job at stake. He was powerful, connected, the kind of man who could ruin me with a phone call, make sure I never worked in tech again. And what about Elena? Would he hurt her? I didn't think he was violent, but I didn't know him, not really, not the man he was behind closed doors. All I knew was that we were playing with fire, and the flames were getting closer. We made a plan to be more careful, to protect ourselves. No texts, no calls, only face-to-face meetings in safe places, parks, cafes far from the office, anywhere we wouldn't be seen. But the more we tried to hide, the more reckless we became, like addicts chasing a high we knew would destroy us. One night, we met at a hotel across town, a nondescript place where no one would know us. We stayed up until dawn, tangled in each other, talking about a future we both knew was impossible. "What if we left?" she said, her voice soft in the dark, her fingers tracing patterns on my chest. "Just you and me. Somewhere new, somewhere no one knows us." I wanted to believe it, to imagine a life where we could be together without the weight of Richard, without the guilt. But I couldn't. She was his wife. She had a life, a home, a world I didn't belong in. And yet I couldn't let her go, couldn't imagine a day without her voice, her touch, her everything. The complications kept piling up, each one a new crack in the foundation of my life. My work started to slip. I was distracted, missing deadlines, making mistakes I'd never made before. A colleague, Sarah, pulled me aside one day, her brow furrowed. "What's going on with you, Ethan?" she asked. "You're not yourself. People are noticing." I brushed it off, forced a smile, but her eyes narrowed, like she knew something, like she'd seen something. Had she caught us at that bar? Heard whispers in the office? The place was a pressure cooker, rumors spreading like wildfire, and I felt the walls closing in, the air getting thinner. Then came the email that stopped my heart. It was from Richard, short and cold. Meet me in my office. Tomorrow. 8 a.m. No context, no explanation, just those words staring back at me. My stomach churned. This was it. He knew. I told Elena, and her face went pale, her hands gripping mine so tightly it hurt. Don't go, she said, her voice breaking. Quit. Leave town. We'll figure it out together. But I couldn't run. I couldn't just disappear, leave everything I'd built behind. I had to face him, had to know what he knew. The night before the meeting, I didn't sleep. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, imagining his face, his anger, the end of everything I'd worked for. But worse, so much worse, I imagined losing Elena. If I left, would she come with me? Would she leave her life, her marriage, for me? Or would she stay, trapped in a world she hated, a world that was killing her slowly? I didn't know what scared me more, losing her, or keeping her and destroying us both in the process. The morning of the meeting, I walked into Richard's office, my heart pounding so hard I thought it might burst. He was behind his desk, his face unreadable, his hands folded in front of him. Sit, he said, his voice calm but heavy, like the quiet before a storm. I sat, waiting for the blow, for the accusation that would end it all. But what he said next was worse than anything I'd imagined. I'm promoting you, he said, his eyes locked on mine. VP of Strategy. You've earned it, Ethan. You're one of the best we've got. I stared at him, my mind blank, my mouth dry. A promotion? Now? Was this a trap, a test to see if I'd crack? I mumbled a thank you, my voice barely audible, but all I could think was, he doesn't know. Or does he? The higher he raised me, the harder I'd fall if the truth came out, and I couldn't shake the feeling that he was playing a game I didn't understand. Elena was just as confused when I told her, her eyes searching mine for answers I didn't have. He's playing a game, she said, her voice low, almost a whisper. He's too smart not to suspect something. He's testing us. We agreed to stop seeing each other, to protect ourselves, to put an end to this before it destroyed us. But 2 days later, she was at my door again, tears streaming down her face, her voice breaking as she stepped inside. I can't do this, she said, her hands trembling as she reached for me. I can't pretend I don't feel this. I can't stay away from you. I should have pushed her away, told her to leave, but I didn't. I pulled her close, kissed her like it was the last time, because deep down, I knew it might be. Every kiss felt like a countdown, every touch a step closer to disaster, and yet I couldn't stop, couldn't let her go. The days that followed were torture. Every moment felt like waiting for a bomb to go off. I'd see Richard in the office, his smile tight, his eyes sharp, and I'd wonder if he was watching me, waiting for me to slip. Elena and I tried to be careful, but the pull between us was too strong, like gravity we couldn't escape. We'd meet in secret, stealing moments wherever we could, a parked car in a dark lot, a quick lunch at a diner far from the office. Each time, we'd promise it was the last, that we'd stop before it was too late. But we never did. I started to notice things, coworkers whispering when I walked by, Sarah's eyes lingering on me a little too long. The office felt like a minefield, every conversation a potential trap. I stopped sleeping, my mind racing with worst-case scenarios. What if Richard had hired someone to follow us? What if he'd seen her texts, heard her voice on my phone? What if he was waiting for the perfect moment to strike? Then came the night it all fell apart. Richard called me to his house, his voice calm but firm, like he was giving an order he knew I'd follow. Bring the merger files, he said, as if it was just business. I arrived, my hands sweating, the files a flimsy excuse clutched in my hands. Elena was there, sitting on the couch, her face pale, her eyes fixed on the floor. Richard didn't smile, didn't offer me a drink. Sit, he said, and I felt the air shift, heavy with something I couldn't name. He knew. I could see it in his eyes, the way they flicked between us, cold and calculating. You think I'm blind? He said, his voice low, cutting through the silence like a blade. You think I don't see what's happening? My heart stopped, my breath caught in my throat. Elena's hand gripped the couch, her knuckles white, her body rigid. But then he laughed, a cold, bitter sound that made my skin crawl. You're not the first, Ethan, he said, leaning forward, his eyes boring into mine. She's done this before. She finds someone like you, young, eager, easy to manipulate. She uses you to feel alive, to fill the holes in her life. Then she comes back to me. My stomach dropped, the world tilting under me. I looked at Elena, waiting for her to deny it, to tell him he was wrong, that what we had was real. But she wouldn't meet my eyes. Her head was bowed, her hands trembling in her lap. Is it true? I asked, my voice barely audible, my heart breaking with every word. She looked up, tears streaming down her face, and whispered, I'm sorry. 2 words, and they shattered me. I left that night, my world in pieces. I quit the next day, packed my things, and moved across the country, as far from Seattle as I could get. Elena stayed with Richard. I don't know if she loved him, if she was too scared to leave, or if Richard was right, if I was just another fling, another way to escape a life she couldn't stand. I think about her every day, the way she made me feel, the way I lost myself in her, the way I believed in something that might never have been real. Was it worth it? I don't know. All I know is that some secrets destroy you, even if they're the only thing keeping you alive. Would you risk your career for love? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I read everyone. Have you ever been tempted by someone off limits, someone who made you question everything? Share your story. And if this hit you hard, hit that share button. You never know who needs to hear this. Until next time, stay safe out there. Love can be a dangerous game,